Hey, soul survivors, we're going to talk about the phenomenon that occurs in this toxic trauma bond. And trauma bond, it occurs when an individual forms a strong emotional attachment to an abusive or toxic partner. We actually fall in love with our abuser. So we're going to talk about how that happens over time, also what happens to us, and can we break free from it? Often, as a result of experiencing repeated cycles of abuse, neglect, and trauma, this trauma bond happens. So it does start in the idealization stage. A lot of you, if you've been to the channels that deal with narcissism, know that in the beginning you got that love bombing stage, you're idealized. The abusive person initially appears loving, caring, and perfect to the victim. They can shower the victim with attention, affection, praise, and they can create this sense of euphoria and also admiration. It seems like a two-way street. We feel like we met our soulmate, our perfect person. But then on comes that seduction. The abusive person may use charm, manipulation, flattery to gain trust and affection from us. And so the victim, we start to feel deeply connected to them and emotionally dependent on the abusive person, believing that they are the perfect partner. When you start a relationship, you know how the two become one, we feel that we're one. And so in a sense, it is somewhat codependent. And then the bonding happens. The victim forms these strong emotional bonds with the abusive person. We feel that they love us. So we're investing. The more you invest, the deeper you get, and often feels a sense of loyalty and commitment to the relationship. So this bond can feel very intense. It can feel difficult to break. And as the victim may believe that the abusive person is their soulmate or their only source of love and validation. So it's sometimes a two-way street. When we start to isolate, we need them and they need us. And they also have different sources of supply. But the abuse, this abusive person begins to exhibit controlling, manipulative, or violent behavior. It could be one, it could be all three, or combination. And these include verbal, emotional, physical, or sexual abuse. And the victim, we may experience a roller coaster of emotions ranging from fear to confusion to anger, even sadness, but we still feel this emotional attachment to the abusive person. And we start going through cognitive dissonance and we have conflicting emotions and thoughts about the abusive person, also the relationship. And a lot of times with cognitive dissonance, you pick the easier of the two or the part that doesn't hurt as much. We don't want to say they don't love us. So we'll just say they're going through a difficult time. And it's two conflicting things. Do they love us or do they not? And we start to get confused, sometimes even in denial about the reality of the situation. And it starts to create that state of cognitive dissonance. And the beliefs and feelings are in conflict. What exactly is going on? So the victim, we might start to experience repeated traumatic events. And a lot of it is it's like intermittent reinforcement really sucks us in. Also that breadcrumbing, we never get back to that dopamine hit. We start craving it more and more. So events or situations within the relationship, which can happen and they further strengthen this trauma bond. The abusive person may use tactics such as gaslighting, manipulation, also intimidation. And this, sorry guys, this maintains control over us and it keeps us trapped in this relationship. These are really hard to leave. We start focusing so much for our validation on that one person. We're not living a whole life where we get, you know, validation from ourselves, validation from others. We become isolated and dependent. We start becoming needy. And the narcissist doesn't like needy because it takes away from their needs. They don't want to deal with their needs. But breaking the bond, finally, we get to this point where we start to realize it's unhealthy or abusive, and we might start to distance ourselves from the abusive person, or we might start trying to talk it through. They hate that. So they might love bomb again. Now we are back to step one, that when they start feeling that they're losing us, they don't want to. Whether we're main supply, new supply, old supply. A lot of times they just don't want to lose us. So they'll love bomb us to an extent. They'll give us those breadcrumbs. But, you know, we have to remember if somebody really wanted to be there for us, that they would. So if you're a side person, a lot of times they purposely will string you along. They love to give excuses about being at work or being busy or family obligations, such as they have to take care of mom or dad because they're sick. They go to great lengths. And, I've been doing a lot of research for you guys and as well myself, but you see people who are narcissists, they sometimes like to brag about the things that they do. And they'll say, yeah, straight up, and I'm so good at it. I haven't been caught cheating. So people definitely want to come back to me. And they become master manipulators. And that's why, people sometimes will give you a hard time about what is wrong with you. Why'd you stay so long? They don't understand that we are dealing with facts that are not facts, and we're basing our decisions on facts that are not facts, but we believe them to be true because we have this love, and we feel that, because of all this intermittent love bombing, that we're loved, or maybe they're going through a hard time, or they just didn't understand. So there are some general strategies for healing from this trauma bond. So we do need to keep in mind that healing from this type of bond can be challenging, and each individual will all handle it different. And, some of these suggestions may work for one person, but not the other. So the most common, seek professional help. And when you work with a qualified therapist or a counselor, definitely make sure you find one who specializes in trauma and abusive relationships. That's extremely important if you want a beneficial outcome. These people can provide support. They also give you validation, which we've been craving for so long. They'll give you guidance in processing the trauma, help you identify these patterns of abuse that sometimes we overlook those red flags, and they'll help us give some different healthy coping strategies. Some things that the therapist may do is cognitive behavioral therapy, known as CBT, dialectical behavior therapy, known as DBT, trauma-focused therapies. Sometimes they use groups, but it's important to practice self-care. And when we take care of ourselves as a whole, physically, emotionally, mentally, we have a better chance of healing. And make sure you get enough rest, eat healthy, keep that body moving, definitely exercise, even if it's just a little bit, and hopefully increase it. It starts feeling good. You get serotonin. And if you've ever heard of runner's high, people really physically feel better. Also cold showers. I go to the lake, it's almost swimming time, and that cold water resets that vagus nerve, and that can kind of help rejuvenate you. Also, it's important to build a support system. Try not to overuse your friends, but rely on your friends when things are really tough. If you struggle with suicidal thoughts, there's 988. In America, our country code is 1. I'm not sure if that's free or accessible, how the charges go, but if you need it, it is a free service. The phone call might cost you something if you're outside of the United States. 1 is the country code, then 988. And by educating yourself, I am here to educate you. Anything that you guys are worried about, concerned about, confused about, definitely let me know. Also, there's other YouTubers too. There's Google. If you're unable to go to a therapist, there's also NAMI and AMI. But learning about trauma bonding, the dynamics of abusive relationships, and also the effects of trauma can help us to gain insight into our own individual experiences. And it also, through these channels, and I also have a live chat where your feelings are validated. We understand what you are trying to say. We're not here to judge you. We're here to try to help you through this, maybe give you the narcissist perspective so you can see what it is you were dealing with, how they can not feel a connection, how they discard people. It's a necessity to them. They can't be in it's few and far between that overcome narcissism. They just don't want to. It's just easier to have everything your way if you think about it. So practice safety planning if you're still in contact with this person who's abusing you, or if you feel unsafe, develop a safety plan. This can be extremely important. You can contact the police department if you need I can't think of this, a neutral party. I can't think of the the word right now. Sorry, guys. I want to make this before I went to bed. Also, definitely, please practice patience and self-compassion. Don't be extremely hard on yourself. This trauma bond is a journey. It does take time, and it's important to be patient with yourself. Don't expect to wake up tomorrow and everything's going to be okay. Don't expect to get back into your perfect eating habits or exercise regimen. That we need to allow ourselves time to grieve and to feel and process our emotions. Processing our emotions are vital. If we keep sucking them up, keep repressing them, we're not going to heal. We have to deal with it. We have to accept it. And whatever your progress is, no matter how small, definitely celebrate each and every day that, if you've gone no contact, that you made it, and, that you woke up and you didn't cry today, you went running instead, or swimming, whatever it is, or you called a friend for coffee, that each little thing is progress. And I promise you, it does take time, and it's almost like it'll happen overnight where you're going to start to feel different, but it will feel uncomfortable as you go through it. That's your brain rewiring, because we start to get addicted to the pain. Our pain reminds us of our narcissist, and we miss our narcissist, and we're used to the pain, but we have to get used to being happy, because it's been a long time since we've been consistently happy. And we sometimes go through fears that, if we meet somebody new, when is this going to end? Is it always going to be happy? Do we trust this person? And trust takes time. Don't give out your trust freely. Be a little cautious, look for red flags, but we also need human interaction. So try not to self-isolate. Reconnect with people who feel safe to you, and it's going to lead you down a path that works for you. So I hope the 7 stages of this trauma bond helps you get some insight on how the cycle just repeats. But the narcissist, usually, even according to all these narcissists online, they say it, that each discard usually becomes quicker. Not always, because it takes on average 7 breakups before the end of the relationship. So just know that you are worthy of love, and we kind of need to prove that to ourselves, that we are worthy of our own love, because when we love ourselves, people will see who we truly are. We'll live within who we are. When we're not happy, it's going to show. And people are attracted to more happy people, more content people. So go through this process to get back to being you. And that's when it all falls into place. Be thankful for what you have. Change the mindset from the negative to the positive instead of beating yourself up. Also personal, positive self-talk is extremely important, to where you don't nitpick at yourselves. If you look a little tired today, don't beat yourself up like I got bags under my eyes, or today's gonna suck. Say today's gonna be a good day. No matter how tired I am, I'm gonna get through it. I'm gonna make the most of it. Just a different shift will lead to that shift in your life, the shift in your emotions, your feelings, your well-being. So one-on-ones are available. Please like. It helps with the algorithm, helps grow this channel, and I will see you in the next video.